The yellow light flickers above him. The chair beside him stays empty. It's been empty for 3 years now, since Sarah passed. Since cancer took her and left him with a 12-year-old daughter and a house that feels too big and too quiet all at once. Outside, the wind howls against the windows. December 23rd. Tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and David hasn't even thought about a tree. Emma asked him earlier, her voice small and careful. "Is anyone coming to visit us this year, Dad?" He told her the truth. "Just you and me, sweetheart, like always." She nodded and went upstairs without another word. She's learned not to push. She's learned too much, too young. Then he hears it. A soft knock at the door, or maybe just the wind. David pushes himself up from the table. The knock comes again, louder this time. He opens the door. Wind and snow blast into the house. Standing on his porch is an old woman, thin and trembling, soaked through to the bone. She clutches a small purse against her chest. Her lips are blue. "I'm sorry," she says, her voice shaking. "I got lost. My car broke down at the end of the road." David hesitates. He doesn't know this woman. But this woman's eyes remind him of his mother. The way she looks at him, like she's holding on to hope by a thread. "Come inside," he says. She steps through the door, hunched over, her breath creating small clouds. David grabs a towel and hands it to her. He fills the kettle and turns on the stove. The woman wraps the towel around her shoulders. Her hands shake as she takes the cup of hot water he offers. "Thank you," she whispers. "My name is Margaret." She looks at him then, with eyes that hold something more than gratitude, something like recognition. David leads her into the living room. The fire has burned down to embers, but he adds more wood, and the flames flicker back to life. She sits on the couch, and he drapes a blanket over her shoulders. "I was on my way to Riverside County," Margaret says quietly, "to see my granddaughter." Margaret looks around the room. Her eyes land on the photo on the shelf. David and Emma, smiling. And Sarah, back when she was still here, back when the world made sense. "Beautiful family," Margaret says softly. "Your wife and daughter?" David's jaw tightens. He doesn't answer right away, just stares at the photo like it might come to life if he looks long enough. "Just my daughter now," he finally says. His voice is flat, empty. Margaret's face changes. Understanding floods her eyes. "I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to." "It's okay." David sits in the chair across from her. 3 years, cancer. The room falls quiet, except for the crackling fire. "I lost my son," Margaret says after a long moment. "Car accident, 10 years ago. He left behind a daughter, my granddaughter." Her hands tremble around the cup. "We've been apart for a long time. After he died, she blamed me. I told him to take that business trip, pushed him to go." Her voice trails off. 2 strangers, 2 losses, both carrying weight too heavy to bear alone. Then a small voice comes from the stairs. "Dad? Dad?" Emma stands there in her pajamas, rubbing her eyes. "Who's that?" Emma walks down the stairs slowly, her eyes curious but cautious. "Hi, sweetie," Margaret says with a gentle smile. "I'm Margaret. I got lost in the storm." Emma looks at her dad, then back at Margaret. "Are you hungry?" The 3 of them move into the kitchen. Emma pulls out bread and peanut butter, working with practiced efficiency. Her hands move carefully, spreading the peanut butter evenly, cutting the sandwich into neat triangles. "You're very good at that," Margaret says. Emma smiles. A real smile, the kind David hasn't seen in months. They sit together at the small kitchen table. Emma tells Margaret about school, about her art class. Simple things, normal things. And Margaret listens like every word matters. David watches them, watches his daughter laugh, watches Margaret's eyes light up. The yellow light above them holds steady. The snow outside continues to fall, but inside the house, something shifts. For a moment, it feels like home again. David wakes early the next morning. The storm has passed. He looks out the window and sees the world covered in white, clean and quiet. Margaret still sleeps on the couch. Emma is curled up beside her under the blanket. David stands there for a moment, watching them. His daughter hasn't slept peacefully like this in a long time. He moves to the kitchen and starts the coffee. Then he hears it. A car engine. The sound is out of place in the morning silence. David walks to the front window. A black Audi sits in his driveway, pristine despite the snow. A woman steps out. She wears a white cashmere coat and heels that sink into the snow with each step. Everything about her screams money and control. Behind her, a man in a dark suit emerges carrying a leather briefcase. David opens the door before they knock. The woman looks at him. Her eyes scan him from head to toe, calculating. "Is my grandmother here?" she asks. No greeting, no introduction, just the question, delivered like a demand. David doesn't get a chance to answer. Margaret appears behind him, the blanket still around her shoulders. "Victoria," Margaret says softly. The woman's face doesn't change. "You know how worried I've been?" It's phrased as a question, but it sounds like an accusation. Margaret steps forward. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to worry you." Victoria's eyes move from her grandmother to David, then back again. "We need to talk. Inside." Not a request. A statement. David feels something shift in the air. This woman brings something with her. Something cold. She walks past him without waiting for permission. The man in the suit follows. Victoria sits on the edge of the worn leather chair, her back straight. David stands near the doorway. Margaret and Emma have retreated to the kitchen. "Thank you for letting my grandmother stay the night," Victoria says. Her voice is polite, but there's a distance in it. "I'd like to compensate you for the inconvenience." She reaches into her purse and pulls out a checkbook. She writes quickly, tears the check free, and holds it out to him. David looks at the check, then at her. He doesn't take it. "I don't need your money." Victoria's eyes narrow slightly. "Everyone needs money. Not for this." "For what then?" "For doing the right thing." Victoria sets the check on the arm of the chair. "The right thing? How convenient that the right thing happened to involve my grandmother ending up at your door." The man in the suit steps forward. "Miss Lawson, perhaps we should go." But Victoria holds up her hand. "Where I come from," she says, "people don't do things without wanting something in return. So what is it you want, Mr. Harper?" David feels his jaw tighten. "I want you to leave if you're not going to show some respect. Victoria Lawson has arrived, and she's not here to say thank you." "Respect," Victoria repeats. The word sounds foreign in her mouth. "You think opening your door earns you respect?" "I think being decent to people who help you might." The man in the suit clears his throat. "Mr. Harper, you have to understand. Miss Lawson's family is well known. There are people who would try to take advantage of that." David turns to him. "And you think I'm one of those people?" "I think it's my job to make sure Miss Lawson is protected." "From what? A guy who gave your grandmother a cup of hot water?" Victoria stands. She's tall, taller than David expected. Her coat costs more than his monthly salary. "You don't understand my world," she says. "And you don't understand mine," David replies. They stand there, two people from different universes, staring at each other. Margaret appears in the doorway. "That's enough." Her voice is soft, but it cuts through the tension like a knife. "Victoria," Margaret says, "this man saved my life. I could have frozen to death out there. He didn't ask who I was. He didn't ask what he'd get in return. He just helped. That's all. He would also." Victoria's face softens, but only slightly. "I'm sorry, grandmother. I just worry about you." "I know you do. But worry shouldn't make you forget how to be grateful." Victoria looks at her grandmother, really looks at her, and for a second, David sees something crack in that perfect exterior. "You're right," Victoria says quietly. She turns to David. "I apologize. I shouldn't have assumed the worst." David nods. He doesn't say it's okay, because it's not, but he accepts the apology. "In my world," Victoria continues, "everyone wants something. Every person who approaches me, every phone call, they all want a piece of something I've built. It makes you forget that not everyone is like that. Maybe that's the problem with your world, David says. Victoria almost smiles. Maybe it is. Emma appears with a tray, orange juice in mismatched glasses. She sets it on the coffee table between them. Would you like some? Emma asks Victoria. Victoria looks at the little girl, at her hopeful eyes, at the simple gesture of kindness. Yes, Victoria says. Thank you. She takes the glass. Her hand trembles just slightly. Thank you, she says again, softer this time. And David realizes it's the first real thing she's said since she walked through his door. The man in the suit excuses himself. Margaret sits with Emma, looking through drawings. That leaves David and Victoria in the kitchen. He heats up soup on the stove, nothing fancy, just chicken noodle from a can. Victoria stands near the counter, unsure what to do with her hands. Can I help? She asks. You can grab those bowls, he points to the cabinet. She reaches up and pulls down 2 bowls. They don't match. One has a chip on the rim, but she sets them on the counter without comment. David ladles the soup. Steam rises between them. I haven't had soup like this since I was a kid, Victoria says. It's nothing special. That's not what I meant. She picks up her bowl, breathes in the smell. My father used to make this, before he got too busy, before everything became about the company. David hands her a spoon. Their fingers brush for half a second. Margaret told me about your father, David says. I'm sorry. Victoria's grip tightens on the bowl. It was 10 years ago. You'd think I'd be over it by now. You don't get over losing someone. You just learn to carry it differently. She looks at him. Is that what you did? With your wife? I'm still learning. They eat in silence for a moment. Not the uncomfortable kind. The kind that feels like understanding. I blamed my grandmother, Victoria admits. For years. She's the one who convinced my father to take that trip, if he hadn't been on the road that night. You can't live in the if, David says. But I do. Every day. Emma's laugh floats in from the living room. Your daughter is lucky, Victoria says. She's strong. Stronger than me most days. That's not luck. That's you. Victoria sets down her bowl. She takes off her expensive coat and hangs it on the back of a chair. It's a small gesture, but it means something. Like she's taking off armor. I spend every day trying to prove I'm good enough, she says. Good enough to run the company. But sitting here, eating soup with you, I don't feel like I have to prove anything. David looks at her, sees past the expensive clothes and the defensive walls. Maybe that's the point, he says. When he hands her a cup of coffee, their fingers touch again. This time, neither of them pulls away immediately. Later that afternoon, David and Victoria stand on the back porch. She holds a cup of coffee, watching him fix a broken hinge on the old wooden door. You always do everything yourself? She asks. When there's no one else to do it, you learn. He doesn't look up from his work. Victoria takes a sip. I hire people. I know. You don't approve. I didn't say that. You don't have to. She sets the cup down on the railing. You don't like me much, do you? David stops working. He looks at her directly. I don't know you. But you've judged me anyway. You showed up with a checkbook, like everything has a price. What was I supposed to think? Victoria's jaw tightens. And you showed up playing the humble hero. What am I supposed to think? They stand there, the cold air sharp between them. You know what I think? Victoria says. I think you look at me and see everything that's wrong with the world. Someone who has money, who has success. And you've decided that means I can't be a good person. That's not fair. Isn't it? You made up your mind about me the second I walked through that door. David sets down his tools. Maybe I did, but you did the same thing to me. Victoria opens her mouth to argue, then closes it, because he's right. I don't know how to be normal, she admits quietly. I've spent so long building walls that I forgot how to let people in. When my father died, when my grandmother and I stopped speaking, I threw myself into work, into proving I was worth something. And now I don't know how to be anything else. That sounds lonely. It is. David picks up his hammer. You could try. Try what? Being someone different, just for a little while. Victoria looks at him, really looks at him. Like this? Standing on a porch, drinking coffee, talking to someone who sees right through me? Yeah, like this. She almost smiles. It's terrifying. Good things usually are. My haven for men. When he hands her a nail to hold, their hands brush, and this time he can still feel it after she pulls away. The sun sets early in winter. By 5 o'clock, the sky bleeds orange and pink. David and Victoria sit on the back steps, watching Emma play in the snow. Their breath creates small clouds in the cold air. Neither speaks. The silence between them has changed. It doesn't feel heavy anymore. It feels like understanding. Victoria shivers. The temperature drops fast when the sun goes down. David stands and takes off his jacket. Here. I'm not cold. You're shaking. He drapes the jacket over her shoulders. His hands rest there for just a second. Long enough for her to feel the weight. Long enough for him to notice how small she seems without all that armor. Victoria looks up at him. He looks back. Something passes between them. Not words. Not even thoughts. Just recognition. Like two people who've been walking alone for so long they forgot what it felt like to be seen. Thank you, she whispers. His hands slide away slowly. But the warmth remains. Emma calls out from the yard, breaking the moment. Dad, look! She's made a snow angel. Arms and legs spread wide, a smile on her face. David turns to look, but he can still feel where Victoria's shoulder touched his palm. Outside, the man in the suit, Robert, sits in his car, watching the house through the window. He sees Emma laughing in the snow, sees Margaret telling stories inside, sees Victoria and David sitting close on the back steps. His name is Robert. He's been Victoria's advisor for 7 years, her protector, her voice of reason. He opens the folder on his lap. Information about David Harper. Employment history, credit report, public records. Nothing suspicious, just an ordinary man, a widower, a father doing his best. But Robert doesn't trust ordinary. He watches David hand Victoria his jacket, watches the way she looks at him, the way her walls come down piece by piece. His phone buzzes. A text from the private investigator. Found something. Call me. Robert's jaw tightens. He knew it. There's always something. Morning comes too soon. The doorbell rings while they're having breakfast. David opens the door to find Robert standing there, his expression grim. Miss Lawson, I need to speak with you, privately. Victoria sets down her coffee. Whatever you need to say, you can say it here. Robert glances at David, at Margaret, at Emma sitting at the table. I'd really prefer... Robert, here is fine. He steps inside and pulls a folder from his briefcase. I had someone look into Mr. Harper's background. Standard procedure. David feels his stomach drop. You investigated me? It's nothing personal. We have to be careful. Victoria stands. What did you find? Robert opens the folder. Your wife, Mr. Harper, Sarah Harper. She worked for Lawson Technologies 8 years ago. The room goes silent. David stares at him. What? She was in the accounting department, 2 years before she left to raise your daughter. Victoria's face goes pale. She worked for my father? Robert nods. That's a strange coincidence, don't you think? That her husband just happened to be the one who helped Mrs. Lawson? David's hands shake. I didn't know. Sarah never talked much about her old jobs. She quit before we met. But doubt creeps into Victoria's eyes. The walls go back up, just like that. Lunch is quiet. Too quiet. Victoria sits across the table from David, but she doesn't look at him. Emma senses the shift and stays close to Margaret in the living room. Victoria picks at her food. You know, in business, I learned something important. Nothing is random. Everything connects. David sets down his fork. What are you trying to say? I'm saying life isn't that different. She finally looks at him. People always want something. Not everyone. Really? Because from where I'm sitting, this looks pretty convenient. My grandmother ends up at your door. You help her. And then we find out your wife worked for my father. David's jaw tightens. You think I knew who she was when I opened that door? I don't know what to think. Yes, you do. You've already decided. He pushes back from the table. You've decided I'm just another person trying to take advantage of you. Can you blame me? I'm not everyone. Prove it. The words hang between them like a challenge. David stares at her. I can't prove something that should be obvious. Either you trust me or you don't. Trust. Victoria laughs, but there's no humor in it. Trust is a luxury I can't afford. Then what are you doing here? Why did you stay? Victoria doesn't answer, because she doesn't know. Margaret appears in the doorway. Enough. Her voice is gentle but firm. Victoria, Margaret says, you're doing exactly what you did with me. You're looking for a reason to push him away. Because if you push first, you can't be hurt. That's not. It is, and you know it. Margaret walks into the kitchen. David didn't know who I was. He didn't know about Sarah and the company. He opened his door because he's a decent man. That's all. Victoria's hands shake. She grips the edge of the table. But what if I'm wrong? What if I trust him and what? Margaret asks. And you get hurt? You're already hurting. You've been hurting for 10 years. The question is, are you going to let fear decide the rest of your life? David watches Victoria struggle, sees the war in her eyes. I don't know how to do this, Victoria whispers. Do what? David asks. Let someone in. Let myself feel something real. David takes a step toward her. What if it's not a lie? Victoria looks at him, really looks at him. And for a moment, the walls come down. Then they go right back up. I need some air, she says, and walks out. Emma finds Victoria sitting on the back porch. The sun is setting. Do you hate my dad? Emma asks. Victoria turns, surprised. Sweetie, no, I don't, but you think he's lying. The directness of children. No walls, no games, just truth. Victoria doesn't know how to answer, so she tells the truth. I don't know what to think. Emma sits beside her. Mom used to talk about her old job. She said her boss was kind, gave her time off when she needed it. She cried when he died. I was little and I asked why. She said he helped her when things were hard. Victoria's heart stops. Your mom talked about her boss? Emma nods. She said not everyone is kind like that. The pieces click into place. Sarah worked for Victoria's father, and he helped her. Just like he helped so many people. Your mom never told your dad about this? Victoria asks. Mom didn't like talking about the past. She said the present was more important. Victoria feels something crack inside her. David didn't know. He truly didn't know. And she'd looked at him like he was the enemy. Victoria knocks on David's bedroom door. It's late. Everyone else is asleep. But she needs to do this now, before she loses her nerve. It's open, he says. She steps inside. He sits on the edge of his bed, holding a photo of Sarah. He doesn't put it away when Victoria enters. Can we talk? She asks. Is there anything left to say? Yes. I need to apologize. For what? For thinking I'm a con artist? For believing I staged all of this? For being afraid, Victoria says. Her voice breaks. For letting my fear turn you into something you're not. David stands. You want to know the truth? The whole truth? Yes. I didn't know who your grandmother was. I didn't know Sarah worked for your father. I didn't know any of it. His voice rises, not with anger, with pain. But you know what kills me? That everything I did, everything I felt these past few days, you think it was some kind of game. That's not it. It is. You looked at me and saw a liar. He takes a step toward her. Do you know what it's like to finally feel something again after years of being numb? To meet someone who makes you remember what it's like to connect? And then have them look at you like you're the enemy? Victoria's hands shake. I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't undo the fact that you believed the worst about me without question. Because that's all I know. Victoria's voice cracks wide open. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an angle. My whole life has been people trying to get close to me for what I have, not who I am. So yes, I looked for the trap, because that's how I survive. That's not surviving, David says quietly. That's just existing. That's just... Victoria feels tears sliding down her face. She hasn't cried like this since her father died. Emma told me, she whispers. About Sarah. About my father helping her. David goes still. What? My father gave your wife time off when she was sick. Helped her when she needed it. She cried when he died. Victoria's voice trembles. You didn't know. You really didn't know any of this. David sits back down on the bed, heavily. Sarah never told me, he says. She had a whole life before we met. She didn't talk about it much. Said she wanted to focus on the present, on us. And I accused you of lying about all of it. Yeah, you did. Victoria sits beside him. Not close, but not far either. I don't know how to trust people, she admits. My father died. My grandmother and I stopped speaking. I built a company from nothing because I had to prove I was worth something. And every day, people try to take pieces of it. Take pieces of me. David looks at her. I don't want pieces of you. I don't want your money or your company. Then what do you want? I wanted to feel alive again. I wanted to remember what it's like to talk to someone and not feel alone. I wanted my daughter to see me smile. He runs his hands through his hair, and for 2 days, I had that, with you. And then it all fell apart because you couldn't believe someone might just be decent. Victoria closes her eyes. You're right. About all of it. That doesn't make it hurt less. I know. They sit in silence. The kind that's heavy with all the things they can't take back. I've spent 10 years protecting myself, Victoria finally says, building walls so high that no one could hurt me. And it worked. I haven't been hurt. But I also haven't lived. Haven't felt anything real. Until I came here. David looks at her. And that scared you. Terrified me. So you pushed me away before I could do it first. Yes. David stands and walks to the window, looks out at the snow-covered yard. You know what the hardest part is? He says. I understand. I get why you did it, but understanding doesn't make it okay, and it doesn't mean we can fix this. Victoria stands too. Can we try? I don't know. I thought I was ready to let someone in, but maybe I'm not. Maybe neither of us are. Or maybe we're both just scared. David turns to face her. Being scared isn't an excuse to hurt people. I know, and I'm sorry. Truly. He looks at her for a long moment, sees her walls down, sees her vulnerable and raw and real. I need time, he says. To think. To figure out if I can trust you after this. That's fair. Victoria walks to the door. She stops with her hand on the knob. For what it's worth, she says, these past few days were the most real thing I've felt in 10 years. And I ruined it. I know that. But I want you to know it mattered. You matter. She leaves before he can respond. David sits back down on his bed, picks up Sarah's photo again. What would you tell me to do? He whispers. But the room stays silent. Margaret finds Robert in the hallway. He's been standing there, listening. Are you satisfied? She asks. I was doing my job. Your job is to protect Victoria, not to destroy the only chance she's had at happiness in a decade. Robert's jaw tightens. What if I'm right? And what if you're wrong? What if this was her chance to heal, and you destroyed it? Robert looks toward David's closed door, then at Victoria's. I thought I was helping, he says quietly. Sometimes, Margaret says. Protecting someone too much is the same as hurting them. Morning comes with clear roads. The tow truck arrives to take Margaret's car to the shop. The storm has passed. It's time for the Lawsons to leave. Victoria and Margaret pack their things. The house feels different now, quieter, like the warmth has drained out with the melting snow. David stands at the door with Emma beside him. They're saying goodbye. That's what people do when things end. Margaret hugs Emma tight. Thank you, sweetheart, for everything. Emma's eyes fill with tears. Will you come back? I'll try. Victoria approaches them. She kneels down to Emma's level. Thank you for teaching me how to draw, and for sharing your home. Emma looks at her with those clear, honest eyes children have. You can't leave. I have to, sweetie. I have work, and you promised to teach me more, and you're lonely, just like Dad. Why does everyone have to be lonely? The question hits like a stone dropped in still water, ripples spreading out in all directions. Victoria doesn't know what to say. How do you explain to a child that sometimes loneliness feels safer than risk? David puts his hand on Emma's shoulder. Come on, Em, let them go. But Emma pulls away. She looks at Victoria, then at her father. You like her. I know you do, and she likes you. So why are you both pretending? David's face goes red. Emma, that's not... It is. Emma's voice cracks. Mom's gone. She's not coming back. And I know you miss her. I miss her too. But she wouldn't want you to be alone forever. She'd want you to be happy. Silence fills the hallway, heavy and thick. Victoria stands slowly. She looks at David. Your daughter is braver than both of us. David meets her eyes. She's right about a lot of things. So, are you going to do something about it? Emma asks. Or are you just going to be sad? Margaret smiles through tears. Out of the mouths of babes. David takes a breath, then another. Victoria, wait. She stops at the door, turns back. I don't know if I can do this, David says. I don't know if I'm ready to trust someone again, to let someone in. But I know that for the first time in 3 years, I felt something. I felt alive, and I'm tired of being afraid. Victoria's hands tremble. What are you saying? I'm saying don't go, not yet, stay. Give us a chance to figure this out. Robert steps forward. Miss Lawson, we have meetings scheduled. The board expects. Cancel them, Victoria says. What? Cancel all of it. I need time. Robert's face tightens. But the investors... Robert, Victoria's voice is firm. I've spent 10 years putting the company first. 10 years proving I'm good enough. And you know what? I am good enough. The company will survive a few days without me. But I won't survive another 10 years living like this. She turns to Margaret. You should go. Get rest. I'll call you later. Margaret smiles. That knowing smile grandmothers have. Finally, you understand. Victoria watches her grandmother leave with Robert. The black Audi pulls away, and then it's just Victoria, David, and Emma standing in the doorway. So, Emma says, breaking the tension. What do we do now? Victoria laughs. Actually laughs. I have no idea. Neither do I, David admits. Emma grabs both their hands. Then let's figure it out together. They move back inside. The door closes behind them. The cold stays outside. In the kitchen, David makes coffee for 3 people. Victoria sits at the table, looking uncomfortable and out of place without her coat and armor. I don't know how to do this, she says again. Do what? Be normal. Not plan everything. Not control every outcome. David sets a cup in front of her. No one knows. We just try. One day at a time. What if I mess it up? Then we'll deal with it. Together. Emma draws at the table, humming to herself. Occasionally, she looks up with a satisfied smile, like she's orchestrated something wonderful. Victoria wraps her hands around the warm cup. I'm scared. Me too. What are you scared of? David sits across from her. That I'll forget Sarah. That letting you in means pushing her out. That I'll fail at this the same way I failed at saving her. You didn't fail her. Victoria says softly. My brain knows that. My heart is still learning. They drink their coffee in comfortable silence. Emma keeps drawing. The house settles around them. I spend every day trying to prove I'm enough, Victoria admits. But sitting here with you, I don't feel like I have to prove anything. Maybe that's what this is supposed to feel like. Victoria's phone buzzes. Work, emails, messages, the world demanding her attention. She looks at the screen. Then she turns it off completely. David raises his eyebrows. Did you just… Yes. And it feels terrifying and amazing at the same time. Emma holds up her drawing. Look! It's the three of them, standing in front of the house, smiling. Not perfect, just real. That's beautiful, Em, David says. Victoria stares at the drawing. Can I keep it? Emma beams. Really? Really. That evening, they sit on the back porch, watching the sun set. What happens tomorrow? Victoria asks. I don't know. What do you want to happen? I want to stay. For a while. Just long enough to figure out if this is real. David nods. Okay. Okay? Yeah. Stay. We'll take it slow. No pressure. Just see what happens. Victoria leans her head on his shoulder. He doesn't pull away. 3 months later, spring arrives. The snow melts away, revealing grass that's been buried all winter. Flowers push through the soil flowers Victoria planted with Emma, their hands dirty, laughing when the dog from next door tried to dig them up. The house looks different now. Brighter somehow. David painted the kitchen. Victoria helped, getting more paint on herself than the walls. Emma took photos of them, covered in yellow paint, smiling like idiots. Victoria still runs her company, but she does it differently now. She works from David's house 3 days a week, goes into the office 2 days. She hired a chief operating officer to handle day-to-day operations, someone she trusts. The board questioned it at first, asked if she was still committed. She told them the truth. I'm more capable now than I've ever been, because I'm not doing it alone anymore. Robert comes by sometimes, not as the suspicious protector, but as a friend. He apologizes to David over coffee one morning. I was wrong about you, Robert says. I thought I was protecting Victoria, but I was just keeping her trapped. David accepts the apology, because holding grudges takes energy he doesn't have. Victoria implements new policies at the company. Support for single parents, flexible work schedules, mental health resources. She thinks about Sarah, about how her father helped when so many others wouldn't. If my father did it, she tells the board, then I can do it better. The company doesn't suffer, it thrives. Turns out when you treat people like humans instead of assets, they work harder, care more, build something real. David takes on bigger design projects. His first major contract in 3 years, an office building downtown. He works late some nights, pencil moving across paper, bringing ideas to life. Victoria watches him work, sees the passion in his eyes. You're good at this, she says one evening. I forgot how much I loved it. Don't forget again. Emma does better in school. Her grades improve. But more than that, she smiles more, laughs more, brings friends home without asking first because she knows it's okay now. One afternoon, her friend asks, Is that lady your new mom? Emma looks at Victoria, who's helping them make cookies. No. That's Victoria. She's family, but different, like bonus family. Victoria's eyes water. She turns away so the girls don't see, but David sees. He takes her hand and squeezes. Margaret visits often. She stays in the guest room, the one that used to be cold and unused. Now it has flowers on the dresser, photos on the walls, life. She and Victoria talk for hours. About the past, about Victoria's father, about grief and forgiveness and all the years they lost. I'm sorry, Victoria says one evening, for all the time we wasted. We're not wasting it now, Margaret replies. That's what matters. The relationship between Victoria and David grows, slowly, carefully, like plants that need time to take root. They don't rush into labels or promises, they just are, together, learning each other's rhythms. They kiss for the first time on a Tuesday. Nothing dramatic, just David walking Victoria to her car after dinner, stopping, looking at her like she's the answer to a question he didn't know he was asking. "Can I?" he asks. "Yes." It's gentle, tentative, perfect. When they pull apart, Victoria laughs. "I feel like a teenager." "Me too, in the best way." They don't tell Emma right away, but she knows. Kids always know. "You kissed Victoria," she says at breakfast the next morning. David nearly spits out his coffee. "How did you?" "You're smiling different. Happy smiling, not polite smiling." Victoria grins from across the table. "Your daughter is terrifyingly observant." "I get it from Dad," Emma says proudly. One Saturday, they drive to the cemetery. All three of them. David brings flowers, Emma brings a drawing. Victoria just brings herself. They stand in front of Sarah's grave. David introduces them. "Sarah, this is Victoria and her grandmother Margaret. They're family now. I think you'd like them. I think you'd be happy I'm not alone anymore." Victoria stays back, giving him space. But Emma takes her hand. "It's okay," Emma whispers. "Mom would want you here." That night, Victoria calls Margaret. "I think I'm falling in love with him." "You think?" Margaret laughs. "Sweetheart, you've been in love with him since he put that jacket on your shoulders. Is it too fast?" There's no timeline for healing, no schedule for happiness. You take it when it comes. The months pass. Spring turns to summer. They take Emma to the beach, build sandcastles, swim in the ocean. Victoria gets sunburned because she forgot sunscreen. David teases her about it for weeks. They have their first fight, something small about dishes and cleaning schedules. It escalates because they're both tired. Victoria storms out, comes back an hour later with apology ice cream. "I'm sorry," she says. "I don't know how to fight healthy. I'm used to winning arguments, not resolving them. We'll learn together." They eat ice cream straight from the container, all three of them, making up by not talking, just being. One evening, David and Victoria sit on the back porch. Emma is at a friend's house. It's just the two of them and the sunset. "Do you ever think about the future?" Victoria asks. "Like what?" "Like where this goes, what we become." David takes her hand. "I think about it, but I'm not in a hurry. We have time." "What if we don't?" "Then we make the most of what we have, right now, this moment. That's all we ever really have anyway." Victoria leans her head on his shoulder. "I never thought I'd find this. Find you." "Neither did I. Your grandmother showed up at my door in a snowstorm, and it changed everything. Sometimes the universe knows what we need before we do." They sit in comfortable silence, watching the sky change colors, pink to orange to deep purple, the day ending, a new one waiting. Inside the house, a photo sits on the mantel. David, Victoria, Emma, and Margaret, taken last week at Emma's school art show, all of them smiling, real smiles, not posed, not perfect, just honest. A family, not the one they were born into, but the one they chose, the one they built from kindness and second chances, and the courage to open a door on a cold winter night. Life rebuilds, not the way it was, but the way it's supposed to be, different, better, real. Victoria's business continues to grow, but now she measures success differently, not just in profits, but in the faces of employees who leave early to attend their kids' soccer games, in the thank you notes from single parents who got the support they needed. David's design firm takes off. Word spreads about his work, about his integrity, about buildings that feel like homes, not just structures. Emma flourishes. Her art teacher submits one of her pieces to a regional competition. It wins second place. She cries happy tears. Victoria frames the certificate and hangs it in the living room, right next to the family photo. Margaret becomes a regular fixture. She teaches Emma to bake, old family recipes that Victoria's father loved. They make cookies every Sunday, the kitchen filled with flour and laughter. One evening, as they all sit around the dinner table, mismatched chairs, chipped plates, and all Victoria pauses. She looks around. At David, focused on cutting Emma's chicken. At Emma, telling an animated story about school. At Margaret, listening with patient joy. This is what she was missing. Not success, not money, not even her father's approval. This messy, imperfect, beautiful thing called family. "What are you thinking about?" David asks, noticing her expression. Victoria smiles. "How lucky I am." "We all are," Margaret says softly. Emma raises her glass of milk. "To family." They all raise their glasses. Water, coffee, milk, it doesn't matter. "To family," they echo. And in that moment, in that small kitchen with its yellow light and worn table, they have everything they need. Outside, the world keeps turning. Storms will come again, challenges will arise. But inside this house, they've built something stronger than walls. They've built trust. They've built love. They've built home. 1 year later, winter returns. But this time, when the snow falls, it falls on a different house, a different life. The same place, but transformed by the people inside it. Christmas Eve. The house is full. Margaret sits by the fire, telling Emma stories about Victoria's father. Robert stands in the kitchen, helping David with dinner. A few of David's co-workers from his new firm laugh in the living room. Victoria moves between rooms, comfortable in jeans and a sweater, her hair loose, her smile real. This is what a home sounds like. Laughter, conversation, life. David stands at the doorway, watching it all. This house that used to echo with silence now overflows with sound. The chair beside him at the table isn't empty anymore. The walls hold new photos, new memories, new hope. He thinks about Sarah, not with pain anymore, with gratitude. She gave him Emma, taught him how to love, and somehow, in dying, she taught him how to live again. "What are you thinking about?" Victoria asks, appearing beside him. "How lucky I am. How lucky I am. We both are." She takes his hand. They've been doing this for a year now, holding hands, building something steady and real. No rush, no pressure. Just two people learning to trust again. Emma bursts into the room, wearing a ridiculous reindeer headband. "It's time for presents!" "We haven't had dinner yet," David says. "But I can't wait." Victoria laughs. "Let her open one. It's Christmas Eve." They gather in the living room. Emma tears into a box, revealing art supplies. Professional ones. The kind serious artists use. "These are amazing." She throws her arms around Victoria. "Thank you. Your art teacher says you're really talented. Thought you should have proper tools." Margaret watches her granddaughter with Emma, watches the way Victoria has softened, the way she's learned to receive love instead of just giving orders, the way she's finally let someone see her. "You did this," Margaret says to David when they have a moment alone. "I didn't do anything. You opened your door. That's everything." Later, after dinner, after presents, after Emma finally falls asleep on the couch surrounded by torn wrapping paper, David and Victoria step outside. The snow falls soft and steady, just like the night they met. But everything else is different. "I have something for you," David says. He pulls a small box from his pocket. Victoria's breath catches. "I know we said we weren't rushing," David continues. "I know we both have baggage and fears and reasons to be careful. But I also know that life is short. That love doesn't wait for perfect timing. That sometimes you just have to choose to be brave." He opens the box. A simple ring. Nothing extravagant. Just honest and real. "Victoria Lawson, you walked into my life when I thought I was done living. You showed me that it's possible to love again, to hope again, to build something new without erasing what came before." His voice shakes. "Will you marry me?" Victoria's eyes fill with tears. Happy tears. The kind she never thought she'd cry. Yes. 1,000 times yes. He slides the ring onto her finger. It fits perfectly, like it was always meant to be there. They kiss, long and deep. The kind of kiss that says everything words can't, that says we made it, we survived, we chose each other. Inside, Emma stirs, opens her eyes just enough to see them through the window. She smiles and goes back to sleep. Her world is complete. Margaret watches too, from her chair by the fire. Watches the pieces of her broken family come back together in a new shape. Not the same, but whole. Robert raises his glass in a silent toast. To being wrong, to learning, to second chances. The next morning, Christmas Day, they wake to a world covered in white. Fresh snow, clean slate, new beginning. They make breakfast together. Pancakes that burn a little. Bacon that's too crispy. Coffee that's too strong. It's perfect. I have an announcement, Victoria says as they eat. Everyone looks at her. She holds up her hand, showing the ring. David asked me to marry him. I said yes. Emma screams, jumps up, hugs them both so tight they can barely breathe. Margaret cries. Happy tears, the kind that wash away years of regret. Robert shakes David's hand. Welcome to the family. Officially. Later, after the celebration calms down, David finds Victoria standing at the front door, looking out at the snow. What are you thinking? He asks. About that night, when your grandmother knocked, when you almost didn't answer. What if I hadn't? Victoria turns to him. But you did. That's what matters. You chose kindness when you didn't have to. You chose to help a stranger. And that choice changed everything. David wraps his arms around her. It changed me too. They stand there, looking out at the snow-covered street. The lights from inside their house spill out onto the white ground, warm, inviting, a beacon for anyone who might need it. The door stays slightly open now. Not closed, not locked. Just open enough to let light out, to let hope in. Because this is a house where kindness lives, where second chances grow, where broken people come to heal. The wedding happens in spring, small and intimate, just family and close friends. They hold it in the backyard, under a simple wooden arch David built himself. Margaret walks Victoria down the aisle. Emma stands as the flower girl, beaming with pride. Robert is there, no longer the suspicious protector, but a genuine friend. When David sees Victoria in her simple white dress, his breath catches. She's beautiful, not because of the dress or the makeup, but because she's finally, completely herself. No walls, no armor, just Victoria. They write their own vows. David goes first. When you knocked on my door that night, well, when your grandmother knocked, I was just going through the motions. Surviving, not living. You taught me the difference. You taught me that it's okay to feel again, to hope again, to love again. I promise to keep our door open, to keep choosing you, every single day. Victoria's voice shakes as she speaks. I spent years building walls, protecting myself from anyone who might hurt me. And then you came along and didn't tear them down. You made me want to take them down myself. You showed me that trust isn't weakness, that vulnerability is strength, that love doesn't have to hurt. I promise to keep choosing you, to keep being brave, every single day. When they kiss, Emma cheers loudest of all. The reception is simple. Homemade food, a playlist of their favorite songs, dancing under string lights as the sun sets. David dances with Emma first, father and daughter, spinning slowly. Are you happy, Dad? Emma asks. Happier than I've been in a long time. Mom would be happy too. David looks down at his daughter, at this wise, wonderful girl who's had to grow up too fast. Yeah, she would. Then Victoria dances with Margaret, grandmother and granddaughter, finally together again. Thank you, Victoria whispers. For what? For getting lost in a snowstorm. For leading me here. Margaret smiles. I think we were both lost, sweetheart. We just found each other. As the evening winds down, David and Victoria stand together, watching their small gathering of loved ones. You know what the best part is? Victoria says. What? A year ago, I would have planned every detail, controlled every moment, stressed over every possible thing that could go wrong. And now? Now I'm just here, present, happy. And nothing went according to plan, and it's perfect anyway. David pulls her close. That's the secret. Life doesn't go according to plan, but sometimes that's when the best things happen. They watch Emma teaching Robert how to do some ridiculous dance, watch Margaret laughing at their attempts, watch friends they've made mixing with family they've chosen. I love you, Victoria says. I love you too. No, I mean, I really love you, the way I never thought I'd love anyone, the way that's terrifying and wonderful at the same time. David kisses her forehead. I know. I feel it too. 2 years after that first Christmas, the house has changed again. A new addition on the back. A studio for David's design work. A nursery painted soft yellow. Victoria stands in the nursery, hand on her swollen belly, looking at the crib David built. Simple. Sturdy. Made with love. Emma comes in, now 14, taller and more confident. Do you think it's a boy or a girl? I don't know. We decided to wait and see. Either way, they're lucky. To have you and Dad. Victoria turns to her stepdaughter. You know you'll always be my first, right? You were the one who made me believe in family again. Emma hugs her. I know. Margaret visits less often now. Her health isn't what it used to be, but when she comes, the house comes alive. She sits in her favorite chair by the window, knitting tiny blankets, telling stories about Victoria's father that Victoria had never heard before. He would have loved this, Margaret says one afternoon. All of it. You. Happy. Starting a family. Running the company his way, with heart. I wish he could see it. He can, sweetheart. I believe that. Robert, now more uncle than advisor, stops by with his new girlfriend, a teacher he met at a community center. They're awkward and sweet together. Victoria has never seen him so relaxed. You look happy, Victoria tells him. I learned from the best, he says, nodding toward David. Sometimes you have to let your guard down. The business thrives. Victoria's initiatives have made Lawson Technologies one of the best places to work in the country. But more than that, it's become a company that cares. That gives back. That honors her father's legacy in ways that matter. David's firm has grown too. He has a small team now. They design community centers, affordable housing, schools, buildings that serve people, not just profit. One evening, as they all sit down for dinner, the table bigger now, to fit everyone, David looks around. Margaret at one end, sharing a joke with Emma. Robert and his girlfriend laughing at something on their phones. Victoria beside him, glowing with pregnancy and happiness. What are you thinking? Victoria asks, noticing his expression. About that night, when I heard the knock on the door, when I almost didn't answer. But you did. But I almost didn't. I was so lost in my own pain, I almost missed it. Almost missed all of this. Victoria takes his hand. But you didn't. You chose to open the door. You chose kindness. And look what it brought us. Didn't. Emma raises her glass. To Dad, for being the kind of person who opens doors. To all of us, David adds, for finding each other. They raise their glasses, water, juice, wine. It doesn't matter. To family, they say together. After dinner, David and Victoria stand at the same front door where it all began. The snow falls gently outside, soft and quiet, a reminder of where they started. Do you ever wonder, Victoria asks, about that night? About how different things would be if one small thing had changed? All the time, David admits. If Margaret had knocked on a different door, if I hadn't answered, if you hadn't come looking for her. Sometimes I think it wasn't an accident, Victoria says. I think the universe knew what we needed, what we all needed. David pulls her close, his hand resting on her belly. Maybe. Or maybe we were just ready to be found. Inside, Emma puts on music. Margaret starts telling another story. Robert laughs at something. The house fills with sound and warmth and life. The door stays open, just a crack, letting the light spill out onto the snow-covered ground. A beacon, a promise. Because this is a house where miracles happen, where strangers become family, where broken hearts learn to beat again. The snow keeps falling, soft and steady, covering the world in white, erasing old footprints, making space for new ones. And inside, where warmth and laughter live, a family thrives. Not from tragedy, but from the courage to open a door on a cold winter night. Sometimes that's all it takes. One choice.